Go Battle League Season 8 is kicking off here in Pokemon Go, and during the first Master League leg of the Season 8 of GBL, we also have the Element Cup. What is the Element Cup? Well, the Element Cup is a little cup type format, so the Pokemon have to be 500 CP or below, and they also have to be part of an evolutionary line, and they have to be the first Pokemon in that line. So like using Bulbasaur, not Ivysaur, not Venusaur. Now I know the Little Cup did have a really big problem, the Bronzor there, as a very dominating, centralizing, slow boring Pokemon that you basically have to max out in order to use, making the Little Cup just kind of a overall toxic format. Well, the Element Cup here does have a type restricted list. You can only use Grass, Fire, and Water type Pokemon. And because of that type restriction, there doesn't appear to be any real like high level, high investment Pokemon that you have to use in this cup. A lot of the better options for this cup are going to be like level 30 or below, making this a fairly accessible cup for people that don't really like the Master League. Or maybe you want to knowledge gap people and climb ahead in GBL. Little Cup could be a really good avenue for that. So to help you guys get ahead in the Element Cup when it comes, I got the Element Cup Simplified prep guide for you. Let you know those good options ahead of time, so when the Element Cup hits, you can pull ahead in GBL Season 8. Get them rollerblades that are actually shoes. And to help guide this information along, I made a nice Element Cup Simplified infographic for you. Link in the description if you want to check out this infographic here. Of course, using the lovely Florka cow drawings of the Pokemon here. And I will talk about all these Pokemon, so if you can't decipher what these Pokemon are, I'll let you know. And then when it gets closer to the Element Cup, the official guide will very likely use actual Pokemon models to make it easier for you guys at home. And I do want to emphasize that this is a early look prep guide. This can change as we get closer to the Element Cup, as we get more and new information, centralizing the meta even more. But I'm pretty sure that overall this is basically going to be the Element Cup meta, plus or minus a couple things. So these are going to be the main Pokemon you're going to look out for. And also, PvPoke does have the Element Cup added to their ranking lists on PvPoke, so if you want to check out rankings yourself, go through different simulations on Pokemon to help refine your own understanding of the Element Cup, that is also an option, and link in the description to PvPoke, of course. What is the number one ace in the whole Pokemon for the Element Cup by and large? Well, if you saw my Season 8 update video, or if you follow me on Twitter, then you already know, it's freaking Ducklett, man. Ducklett is insane for the Element Cup. Just terror. Look at this thing. Look at its eyes. These are the eyes of a crazy Pokemon that destroys everything. And yeah, it destroys everything in the Element Cup, no cap. Why? Well, the Element Cup is fire, water, grass. So typically, fire beats grass, grass beats water, water beats fire. That makes sense, right? Well, Ducklett here is a flying type Pokemon. Now, there are other sub-flying type Pokemon in this cup, but Ducklett has the audacity to have Wing Attack and Brave Bird. Brave Bird, like the super dive bomb bird attack. Somebody at Niantic gave that to Ducklett, maybe as a joke, and now the joke's on everyone because this thing is a freaking monster. So yeah, Wing Attack, Brave Bird. Because of that, it's able to beat a lot of the grass type Pokemon, and it's able to beat the majority of the water type Pokemon. And then at the end of the day, it's still a water type Pokemon. So you bet your bottom dollar there that it's beaten the fire type Pokemon as well. So yeah, Ducklett kind of breaks this meta in a really big way. Oh yeah, and what's its secondary charge move? It's Bubble Beam. You want some crazy rocket tag action going on with like the most perfect bait move ever? You got Ducklett, man. Bubble Beam. Insanity there. When it comes to the Ducklett IV spread, you probably want to go for maximum bulk. If you go for a higher attack stat Ducklett, you will get CMP, but Ducklett is so tanky that in a standard matchup situation, you could tank the first Brave Bird, and then because they get the stat drop from Brave Bird, your Brave Bird will KO them. But at the same time, if they shield your Brave Bird, then you've got that damage going on, so they could potentially farm you down. So the Ducklett mirror matchup is kind of a chaotic mess, and will make this cup a little bit of a headache for a lot of people, especially when it comes to Ducklett. Good news is Ducklett isn't like Bronzor v Bronzor. The Ducklett fight does go pretty quickly when it does happen. So if Ducklett is the Omega God Pokemon for this cup, what stops it? What's the most consistent Ducklett counter? Well, we got Chinchou. Chinchou is effectively the only Pokemon with like electric type attacks in this cup, and I think it is the only electric type Pokemon as well for the Element Cup, so it is able to resist those flying type attacks and then hit it back with double super effective damage, usually farming it down just straight Spark. And then to make this thing a little bit nicer, it's got Thunderbolt for some heavy damage, and then it's got Bubble Beam. because of course it has Bubble Beam. Like, two of the better options for this cup, they got debuffing attacks. Of course they do. Now, there is a little bit of a risk using Chinchou in this cup, because while it does completely Raffle Stomp the Ducklett there, it has absolutely nothing to do against the vast majority of Grass-type Pokemon. And there are a lot of really good Grass-type Pokemon in this cup. So while this guy can steamroll the Ducklett, the Grass-types just completely steamroll the Chinchou. Chinchou's got nothing it can do against them, aside from throw Bubble Beams to debuff them for the next thing in. So there is a lot of risk to bringing Chinchou to this cup. To make Chinchou look a little bit more goofy, I guess, in the context of the Element Cup, is that the Grass types don't outright lose to Ducklett. Like, you don't see an arrow going from Ducklett to the Grass types. And that's because, given the circumstances, if they, shield the Brave Bird, or if they don't shield the Bubble Beam, or if they got like an energy advantage or something to that effect, the Grass types can overcome Ducklett. So the Grass types aren't completely lost against Ducklett. You could go triple Grass in this meta and probably perform pretty well, knowing that any Chinchous that think they're there for the Ducklett are just going to get completely wrecked by you, and you're not completely lost against Ducklett. The highlighted Grass types are ones that stand out to me. I think the best Grass type overall for the Element Cup is either going to be Chikorita or the Execute here. Chikorita, because it is a Vine Whipper, it's got the Body Slam, it's got like Grass Knot for the heavy Grass type attack, and because it is I think it is the thickest, or one of the thicker Grass-type Pokemon for this cup, it's able to overcome a lot of disadvantageous matchups just off of its bulk and being able to throw those Body Slams very quickly. And then the thing I like about Execute is that it's got heavy confusion damage, and the only two things that really resist it are Houndour, which isn't really all that great, and I think Crevana is sub-dark. And Crevana could be interesting, especially now that Poison Fang is getting buffed, but I don't expect to see a lot of Crevana in this cup. So these two definitely stand out to me. If you check out pvpoke.com, it'll tell you that the Whimsicott here, or the Cottonee, is the top performing Grass-type Pokemon. It's got that heavy stab charm damage, so it can run through everything that isn't a Poison or a Fire type just using straight charm. But I think that is a little bit risky because Fire types will be popping up in this Element Cup, even though they do have that disadvantage against, the Ducklett and the Chinchou there. I do expect to see a lot of Fire type Pokemon. And then we do have Oddish and Bulbasaur and other sub-poison Grass type Pokemon floating around in this cup, just waiting for Cottonee to slip up there. So I feel like Cottonee does have it a little bit rough here. And then when it comes to the charge attacks, it only has Grass type charge moves, where a similar, fast move attacking Pokemon, Execute, has Psychic for some heavy neutral damage, and it's got Seed Bomb for the early charge move. So I think Execute is just kind of the same exact idea as Cottonee here, but just better. But that said, Cottonee does have Charm, and if it is unresisted, then that can be really good for Cottonee. And then Bulbasaur here is like the Vine Whip Grass Poison that stands out, and then Oddish is the Razor Leaf Poison that stands out. And then finally, I got Turtwig highlighted here, but I don't really think Turtwig is like #graphic worthy anymore, just because of all the poison types running around resisting it as they would resist the Cottonee, and then Cottonee has an advantage over the Turtwig. But Turtwig is like the Razor Leaf version of Chikorita. So I think Turtwig's at least worth thinking about for the Element Cup here. And I think Grass types in general are so strong in this cup that you could go triple Grass, and so long as your opponent's not using like a fire-breathing Fire type Pokemon, you'll probably have a very okay time in the Element Cup with just that, even if you are a non-Ducklett player. Of course, there are Fire types to consider, and I feel like the cream of the crop when it comes to the Fire type Pokemon is going to be Ninetales. So what does Ninetales here have that other Fire type Pokemon don't? Well, it does have Weather Ball, and it does have Body Slam, so that's a pretty good start. And then it also has Quick Attack. Now, Quick Attack usually isn't that good of a move, but it does have the same stats as Wing Attack, so it's not exactly a terrible move for a Pokemon to use. And when you have a very concentrated, limited format like this, that neutral damage from the Quick Attack versus using anything else can allow it to pull ahead in a lot of interesting matchups. For example, against Spark Chinchou, you actually do have a chance to beat that by using Quick Attack, where you would lose should you be using the Ember there. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then you do maintain the majority of your grass type matchups, no problem. You are still a fire type Pokemon using Weather Ball of all things with fire type resistances, so that's pretty good. And then because you are using the neutral quick attack with the Body Slam, you're not as lost against Ducklett as other fire type Pokemon may be. And then of course against other fire type Pokemon, you got the neutral hits. So yeah. Be it the Shadow, be it the regular, I think the Shadow is slightly better, but whatever you have the better like PvP/IV spread on, that'll be the Vulpix that you'll want to use. I think I've been calling it Ninetales. It's Vulpix, guys. I know it's Vulpix. And with the inclusion of Vulpix here, we do have the full circle meta going on. And then we got Seel in the center here. Why is Seel in the center? I feel like Seel is probably going to be the best safe swap type option for the Element Cup here. It does lose to the Chinchou, but that's actually kind of an advantage almost. Like it does some crazy mind games against your opponent, I feel, with the Seel. Because if Seel does lose to Chinchou, well, if you safe swap to Seel and your opponent brings in the Chinchou, well, that means that Chinchou is going to get taken out, which means your opponent is going to be stuck against your Ducklett in the end game without their Chinchou. And if your opponent knows that, they have that, precognition there, well then they won't bring in Chinchou against your Seel, which means Seel will have its good safe swap action going on against everything else. And then you might not even have a Ducklett in your back line. If you just have grass Pokemon in your back line, well then Chinchou's completely wrecked anyways. So do they have a Ducklett? Do they not have a Ducklett? Should I swap in my Chinchou? Should I not swap in my Chinchou? I feel like Seel has a lot of power in this Element Cup as a safe swap just because of all of that that's going on. Now, Seel does have Ice Shard, it does have Icy Wind, it does have Aqua Tail, so, good Ice type attacks, debuff opponents when you're in a losing situation, and aggressive Water type damage. So Seel is a pretty compact one-size-fits-all Pokemon. You may also want to consider using Lick instead of Ice Shard. If you use Lick, then you do have a better matchup against the... I always want to call you Ninetales. If you use Lick, you do have a better matchup against the Vulpix here, which could be nice depending on how popular Vulpix becomes. And if somebody's trying to be big brain and they're using a Bubble Chinchou here to beat the Vulpix, because Spark Chinchou pretty much loses against the Quick Attack Vulpix there, then the Lick can help you overcome the Bubble Chinchou. And then it is technically the better move against Spark Chinchou anyways. That said, if you do swap over to Lick, you will have a worse Ducklett matchup and a worse Grass matchup for the most part. So there are some trade-offs there. That said, these trade-offs also work to Seel's advantage, because if you swap in Seel, then your opponent may have to wait a little bit, see what fast move you're using before they determine what they want to swap into, because you could get the one over on them based on the fast move, which means now you get even more of an energy lead. So I think Seel is just kind of like Ducklett here is the king of the meta. I feel like Seel is kind of like the Shadow King of the Element Cup meta, probably even more worth to look out for than Ducklett is. And that covers the basic rock, paper, scissors of the Element Cup meta. And we do have some other Pokemon that are worth considering over to the right here. However, the more I study the Element Cup meta here, the less viable the vast majority of them kind of feel, because even though Ducklett is kind of the king of the meta, the grass types are really heavy, and triple grass can work out really well. And how the heck are you going to bring rock types or mud boys into a meta where your opponent's using nothing but grass type Pokemon? That just sounds insane. At any rate, let's talk about them. First, we got the mud boys, we got Barboach, and we got Wooper. And then honorary mud boy, we do have Poliwag as well. They got Mud Shot. They got Body Slam or the Mud Bomb there for the rapid action charge move action. And then Barboach kind of stands out from the other two by having Ice Beam as a heavier kind of attack. It is a bit slower, so you might not have the opportunity to use it, but it is a nice heavy attack. So yeah, the Mud Boys are pretty nice. If you're not up against a grass type Pokemon, they definitely do some solid overall general damage and can overcome matchups. Then next up we got the rocks and the quote unquote rocks. Basically, Pokemon that are either rock type or they're using Rock Throw or Smackdown primarily to harass the Ducklett here and not be Chinchou. So we got Tortuga over here. It has Water Gun and Body Slam. I don't think it has any real rock type attacks it's going to be using, so it is kind of the most flakiest of the bunch because it has the least amount of action to help fight back against grass type Pokemon should they come in. But definitely a worthy option overall, being able to tank a Brave Bird from the Ducklett there and retaliate and potentially win. Of course, we got Ammonite. Ammonite's got Mud Shot with rock type attacks. What more could you want? And then we got, man, is this Clawsire or Clauncher? Or I didn't check its name. The angry crayfish thing that's not the big angry crayfish thing. It's got Rock Throw. And that's all you really need to know. It can just rock throw this guy down. However, compared to Slugma, I think it does have the worst resistances overall because, grass-type Pokemon. Slugma can actually beat grass-type Pokemon using the rock throw. So I think overall, if there's a diamond in the rough here when it comes to the rocks and the quote-unquote rocks, I think Slugma is probably going to be the best rock because rock throw, you hit this guy for super effective, you hit other fire types super effective while resisting fire type attacks, and then you're a fire type, so you do have the one over on most grass type Pokemon. Problem with Rock Throw Slugma though, the thing that holds it back and it doesn't make it like on this main graphic here, is that it's a little bit too soft, and it hits a little bit too softly, and it is a little bit too slow to its charge moves. So the faster like body slam action of like all these Pokemon and all the bubble beam action coming from these guys and so on, usually these Pokemon do overcome the Slugma in like even shield situations. They're just too fast for Slugma to really get the one over. But I feel like if Slugma does come in and just like rock throw farm something down, I think it can be a really potent force in the Element Cup meta. So maybe just keep your eyes peeled for Slugma. Don't count it out. I'm not super impressed by it, but I think out of everything on the right side here, the alternative options, I think Slugma's got the best shot at being kind of meta. And then finally, we have the Hidden Power Electric Pokemon. All three of these Pokemon can use Hidden Power, which means they have access to Hidden Power Electric, which means they can do electric type attacks to Ducklett here, zapping it just like the Chinchou. However, overall, I'd have to say they're kind of worse than Chinchou in a way, because they all get Silly-wrecked by grass, but they have like less like options to deal with grass Pokemon compared to Chinchou. I mean, Chinchou can at least bubble beam them. These guys are kind of stuck against them. I mean, Shellos does have Body Slam, but it's weak to the grass type attacks, where these guys at least resist the grass type attacks. So it is kind of questionable. I feel like in a more like Silpharina type format, these guys could be really powerful because your opponent would be like, oh, that's the Hidden Power Electric Pokemon. And then because it's Silpharina, you know that they have Ducklett in their roster, so they're thinking about bringing the Ducklett or not kind of thing. And then maybe you could trip them up by not using Hidden Power Electric. You could use like Hidden Power Poison. So then they swap in a grass type Pokemon to take care of your Hidden Power Electric Pokemon, but psych, it's not Hidden Power Electric, it's Hidden Power Poison. So now you're getting countered and I'm getting energy, so when your Ducklett comes back in, I throw the grass type charge moves. I think that could work out really well in a Silpharina type format. But in a GBL type format where everything's blind and you don't know what kind of knowledge your opponent has, I don't know if it's going to work out to try to trip up your opponent by not using Hidden Power Electric. And then to that end, I don't think they're very powerful outright with just Hidden Power Electric compared to Chinchou. So these guys might be memes. They might be some really smoky, super spicy type Pokemon to take over your opponent there. We'll have to see. But if you are thinking about using them with Hidden Power Electric, I don't know. I think they're going to underperform in practice, especially if you run into a lot of nasty grass type Pokemon. Now, two other spicy Pokemon that I am thinking about in the back of the Swagman's mind when it comes to the Element Cup are Slowpoke and the Cravana. Now, when it comes to Slowpoke, Slowpoke does have that heavy confusion damage that is, for the most part, unresisted in this cup. It is weak to the grass-type Pokemon, but you got, confusion as your fast move. And if it's a poison grass-type Pokemon, well, then they're in trouble, So I think if you were to think about like a fast move, aggressive kind of team, like Confusion Slowpoke with the Confusion Execute and then something else, I think that could be pretty annoying for your opponent to deal with there. So I think Slowpoke is at least worth thinking about. And then Cravana is the final like spicy Pokemon that's in the back of my mind, just because we have the Poison Fang buff there. So even though it is a dark Pokemon, even though it is really fragile, I think it could do some pretty interesting stuff in the Element Cup with either Bite or Snarl, just because it's able to quickly get to that newly buffed Poison Fang that can debuff your opponent's defense stat and help you just punch through them. And then you got like the, for the most part, unresisted Crunch charge move. I think Cravana does have a lot of interesting opportunities to get ahead. Especially if the meta does start to favor Execute more than anything else, because you do resist that confusion. So just interesting spicy pick that might work out Right now it doesn't look like it's going to be that threatening though. And with all that said, that is the Element Cup Simplified Early Look Prep Guide here. As we approach the Element Cup, I will update this video and have a new infographic for you guys to help you understand the Element Cup even better. I just wanted to give you guys an early taste here so you can be like, yeah, I better look out for Duckletts and Seals and stuff. That might be important for this here Element Cup that's coming up. So you're not left high and dry when the Element Cup does finally show up. So if you do want to see that newly updated guide, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips here. If you got any questions on this content as well, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more content like this, you want some extra help getting through Season 8 of GBL, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these patron supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Now before I talk about Ninetales, I'm going to make sure I hit that record button because I'm getting a little skeptical here now. Okay, I am recording. Good. Just that panic moment where you're recording for like 14 minutes and you're like, did I actually hit record?